Welcome everyone to this session of the Dynamic Coalition on Core Internet Values. Apologies for the delay. We had a technical problem, as you're well aware, and welcome to our participants online. Today, I'm here with, I'm Olivier Crépin-Leblanc, I'm the chair of the Dynamic Coalition, and a colleague of ours is remote, Pari Isfandiari. She'll be sort of contributing to this session. And of course, we hope that you'll be able to contribute to this session. It's a short session. We have started about 9 minutes late. So we'll, because there's no session after this one, we can spill over a little bit, of course, within reason, so that we can also have a break. I think there's a break after this, so have a bit of time. So the first thing I think we're going to do, because there is an agenda which is on the wiki, and it speaks about the introduction and then setting the stage with Pari giving us her points regarding a dialogue as a catalyst. Then we've got reality check, our core values holding up, what needs to change, and then we'll really ask for your participation and your input on this as to how we move forward on these things. But I guess the first thing really is to give you a little background on the core internet values, and I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully that technology will work. So we stop this and we start that. And hopefully that comes out well. So core internet values, what are they? And I'm going to be quite brief on this. So the internet is built on a set of constant parameters and values that it adopted from a very early stage, and that actually made the internet what it is. It allowed it to grow at a rate which was unprecedented, without without any slowing factors, and being able to help innovation on the way. The first thing is the global accessibility. So the internet is global; it's open to all, regardless of geography. It's a resource that pretty much every part of the world now is able to access. And it's always been, from the very beginning, designed to be able to go and spread worldwide. It's a network of networks which all interoperate with each other. And so the interoperability is extremely important. It's not a single network. It's actually thousands, tens of thousands of networks which are interconnected together. And they all use the protocol TCP/IP, which made it possible for any type of device to connect, as long as you respect this protocol. It's decentralized. There's no single entity in the world that controls the internet. There is indeed, maybe as far as domain names are concerned, there's a single, what we call a single root, a single directory, because obviously if you want to go to a specific website or send an email address, it's pretty good if it just fits with one destination rather than fitting in many different destinations. And so ICANN is coordinating the identifiers, as one calls them. And then it's got also this end-to-end communication, where the end users are the people that have the choice of what kind of traffic they want to send. And that also allows any type of service to be provided. So you could have web services, or you could run an app. As long as it gets connected via TCP/IP, you're able to send those along. It's also user-centric, in that the user is, in theory, and remember, these are the values that were at the beginning. In theory, the user is able to choose absolutely everything of what they want to receive, what they want to send, etc. They control the experience fully. It's reliable and robust. In all the years that it's been up, there's been only one case where it was in kind of trouble, which was when a worm was sent in 1988, way long time ago, and when there were still a lot of security holes around. Ever since that time, the internet has not collapsed. Even during times of COVID, when we thought there was going to be so much use of the internet, and some predicted that the immediate death of the net, that didn't happen. And it's thankfully still with us today. And then we did add one additional core value a few years ago with Vint Cerf, one of the fathers of the internet, who participated in a session, saying that one of the things they hadn't thought about in the early days was this concept of making it more secure, or helping people from harm. Because obviously when they designed this thing, they thought, okay, this was going to be for good, this was going to be for communications. But as time went on, we all know that the bad people, the bad actors turned up, and we ended up with malware, we ended up with viruses, with terrible content. And so he felt that there was a need to also have an internet that brought freedom from harm, had some form of ways to prevent harm to the users of the internet itself. So how are the values evolving? Well, as I've mentioned earlier, there's been some changes in some of them. Some of them have been eroded. There, of course, the cybersecurity aspect, and there's also been things like network neutrality, where the end user was able to send and receive any kind of information. Today, sometimes this type of access is more controlled, both by the end users, both by the end devices, but also by some of the telecom providers, and certainly by some governments as well, that impose strict controls on their on the content that comes in and out. But the cybersecurity threats, there's the regulations, more and more regulation going on, and then there's this whole thing, artificial intelligence, that today is even more erasing the internet and just sending you information. You don't really quite know where it comes from and how it was created and so on. So it is an evolving network, and the core internet values somehow also have to, or some of them somehow might have to evolve. But we're not quite sure, and this is, I guess, why we're here also to discuss this. I think that's my quick presentation, and I hope it gives you an idea of what the core internet values are. Now, some people call them the internet invariables, or some of the bases on which the internet were built. Okay, so let's open the floor, and we'll start with Oksana.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for very interesting and important topic. I'm Oksana Prihodko, European Media Platform. I'm from Ukraine. In Ukraine, internet is saving lives and is killing people. And without any multi-stakeholder approach, one guy turned off satellite internet to save lives of Russian aggressors. My question for you, if you can turn off internet to save lives, what would you do? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Oksana. That's a very tough question. It's an ethical question. It's one of these things where a tool can be used both for good and for bad. And I'm not quite sure how you all feel about this, because obviously originally this was all intended to bring people together and be able to talk and be able to spread information and get everyone to be friendly with each other. I remember the early days. And then the first conflict started very quickly, and the internet was not only used as something to bring people together, but actually tore people apart and communities also apart. So yes, there is this sense. And now, of course, with the war in Ukraine, we've also found that the internet has been used for the remote remote control of all sorts of devices and so on, and that takes a more sinister tone as well with regards to this. I think that the core internet values in themselves, you're obviously looking at the freedom from harm, probably doesn't go as deep as this into the sort of control of what services can be or can't be on the internet. Obviously, it's a bit of a thing where if you allow a network to allow any type of traffic and be used in any way possible, you might end up with you'll definitely end up with a problem, because some will use it for exactly what you spoke about. Any other comments, questions, thoughts? The first, I think one of the big questions that we always ask ourselves is, should the core internet values evolve, or are they cast in stone? You've put these rules together a long time ago, and now you're not going to touch them. So no matter what happens, should we keep those core internet values as they are? Should we add more core internet values? Should we remove some and say, well, this is no longer part of the internet today because it's changed so much? How does AI affect now the way the internet works? How does it affect the way you use the internet? It's all a whole thing. Yes, please, go ahead.
Good morning. I'm from Armenia, and I represent Armenian Internet Governance Council. And just want to inform you that in Armenia, our government made changes in the law, and now they created a mechanism which blocks in Armenia foreign bookmaker sites. So no one in Armenia can enter the websites of foreign bookmakers without VPN. But our council thinks it is not appropriate decision, because we remember when several years ago Roskomnadzor in Russia also was created for these matters, but later it became the weapon of censors in the Russia. So we also think that in the future Armenian government can use this mechanism to block, for example, oppositional websites and persons also. So what do you think? What is the European experience in this question, and how our society can struggle against this decision?
Yeah, thank you. Anybody wishes to contribute to this? I hope it's not a Q&A thing where I have to answer, or because unfortunately my colleague is mute at the moment. I don't know whether we've managed to also get her to speak. Can you try this out? Parry, are you able to?
Hello, Olivier. Do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Did you wish to try and answer this, because you have some knowledge of living or of countries where there are controls over the information being sent, and how do you deal with this when I guess there are so many places where cutting the internet off or filtering the internet or filtering content or blocking websites and so on is now happening, and I guess there's always a threshold how it's happening. So it's no longer the case that you've actually got access to the whole internet. There sometimes are some sites that you're not able to access, even though in some countries it's less restrictive than in some other countries. Did you want to provide an opinion on this, Parry?
Well, a very short one, but allow me to start with what Oksana was asking. And I think the answer to her question is not really for me or you or anyone to answer. It's a collective response, and it's really not a technical issue. So these are the kind of ethical issues, as you mentioned, that needs a collective discussion and answer to that. We cannot come with, on the spot response to that kind of more philosophical and fundamental question. On the second question, the issue of geopolitics sits at the heart of, internet fragmentation and internet access. And again, it's a struggle. It's struggle we have between countries that respect the freedom of expression and countries who don't. And this struggle is an ongoing, and it's like the boundaries of democracy that we push in one side and it's pushed back. And again, we cannot have a one answer fits all, because we are bound with national regulations and national interpretations of security, national security, and differences in the values. And on that note, if you allow me, I think we go to second part of the our session. May I?
Yeah, thank you, Parry. It's Olivia speaking. I'm not quite sure which part is the second part now. Oksana does have her hand up, and she wanted just to respond quickly to the points you've made.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you, Pari. And I'm doing my best to initiate this discussion within I can for more than 3 years. And I hope that in Prague we will have our first step in this.
Yeah, thanks very much. So, Parry, I gather you're taking us to agenda item 2 after having gone through 4 and 5. So now we're over in 2 and setting the stage. Funny, actually, setting the stage after it's all happening. Over to you, Paris Fandiari.
Thank you, Olivier. So today we are here to ask how we move from talk to action and how we protect core internet values in an increasingly volatile digital world. It's a timely question because for nearly 2 decades, the IGF and regional processes like EuroDIG have been built around a simple but ambitious idea that inclusive, sustained dialogue can shape the future of the internet, and by that measure, they have delivered. Still, one question keeps coming back in workshops, reports, and policy-making circles. Can dialogue alone make a difference? At the IGF, and especially through EuroDIG, the answer has been a quiet but consistent yes. Take the IANA transition. It wasn't decided at the IGF, but the trust, understanding, and informal negotiations that made it possible were cultivated in spaces just like these. Or consider AI. Years before ChatGPT reshaped public debate, the IGF and EuroDIG were already raising red flags on algorithmic opacity, data ethics, and platform accountability. These weren't headline-grabbing outcomes, but they helped seed awareness, build relationship, and bring ideas to the surface long before the policy window opened. That's what dialogue does when it works. It raises awareness, especially across communities and regions that don't often connect. It builds network coalitions that trace their roots to shared panels or hallway conversation. And it shapes narratives, lifting up issues that were once fringe, like gender and tech, digital rights, or data justice, and bringing them into the policy mainstream. EuroDIG in particular plays a unique role. It's not just a regional offshoot, it's a vital link. It connects local perspective to global processes, brings in underrepresented voices, and models a truly multi-stakeholder bottom-up planning approach. But still, the question of impact lingers. What has all this dialogue actually achieved? That's where evidence matters. Studies like AP's IGF output report and more recently, net effects and evidence-led exploration of IGF impact try to answer that very question. They show that dialogue-based forums have produced both direct and indirect outcomes. Directly, we see the growth of national and regional IGFs, or policy influence in places like Kenya, Brazil, or Germany, and the real shift in how global actors engage with civil society and technical community. Indirectly, we see how narrative change, how issues rising on agendas, how language evolves, and how new norms take root. The net effect study highlights exactly this. The IGF may not produce resolutions, but it shapes the ecosystem of decision making. It acts as a space for legitimacy building, for surfacing emerging risks, and for testing ideas before they calcify into regulation. In other words, dialogue matters, not because it produces immediate action, but because it shapes what action becomes possible. And yet we must admit, dialogue alone is not enough. Some conversation fade without institutional uptake. Others are drowned out by commercial pressures or geopolitical urgency. And some core internet values are at real risk of being sidelined. So the real question is, how do we move from dialogue to durable change? So let's reflect on that for now, and I will return later with a few thoughts, but first we turn to Olivier to learn whether core internet values are still holding up in practice. Over to you, Olivier.
Thank you very much, Parry. It's Olivia speaking, and I gather that we've already gone somehow through this. Are they holding up? And we've seen that some are not. Some clearly are not. Thank you for introducing the main question of the day, which is not actually just on core internet values, but how to go from the dialogues that we're having in EuroDIG, in the IGF, and so on, and actually go to that next level of action. And whether you've actually witnessed any of this happening in the world that you evolve in. We all come from various backgrounds and are part of different organizations. Certainly, there is an APC report. I don't know if you've checked that. It's on the wiki page, which looked in 2014 at the parts of the IGF, the discussions that took place of the IGFs, what they gave rise to afterwards, how they developed into concrete outcomes. That was actually during the last round of the WESIS plus 10. And so APC produced this report because there were some detractors saying, hey, these are just people in rooms, big rooms like this one, just talking, and nothing ever comes out of it. It's only theory. There's no practice. There are no outcomes. And so the APC came up with this document, and it's got quite a number of examples. And since that time, of course, the IGF has also evolved and has more outcomes. The EuroDIG obviously has outcomes, and we hope that these get taken up and go further than this. So I guess that's the gist of the discussion here, and it'll be interesting to hear from you how you've done that in your work, and how the work that you attend here helps you in your work later on, and how things move basically. Parry, do you want to take it from there? What needs to change?
Sure, thank you, Olivier. So here I'm gonna share some ideas basically on how to move from meaningful dialogue, because we had a meaningful dialogue and it had impact as I described earlier. But how we move to tangible impact? How do we ensure the core internet value we so often champion shape real world policies, not just get repeated in speeches? So there is really no silver bullet, but if we want dialogue to deliver, some things must change. First, we must stop treating conferences as endpoints. Too often we gather, exchange ideas, and leave without a plan. We must design these gatherings with the afterward in mind. Here are some ideas. We can embed soft outcome goals. Good example is the IGF Dynamic Coalition and best practice forums. They have produced toolkits, recommendation, and policy guidance used by governments, companies, and scholars. Why? Because they're designed with continuity and deliverables in mind. A different approach is to strengthen follow-up. Examples are RightsCon, where the outcome report includes next step and invites stakeholder follow-up. Similarly, the Paris Peace Forum tracks project commitments and highlights those that evolve, while IGF Dynamic Coalition and EuroDIG messages offer some continuity, but expanding them to include follow-up actions and progress updates could foster ownership and accountability. Then we can explore synergy with other domains. In another internet governance increasingly overlap with trade, climate, and development. The UN Global Digital Compact frames digital governance within sustainability and human rights. EuroDIG could be a regional connector by co-hosting sessions with climate or development bodies. Second approach would be translate values into regulation. We often assume that our principles will naturally carry through, but they don't, unless we actively advocate for them in the laws, institution, and funding priorities. Let me give you two examples. In Kenya, the data protection law reflects both global standards and local realities. It was shaped through regional IGFs and a strong civil society engagement. In the EU, there is real momentum to ensure that AI and digital regulations promote interoperability, openness, and fundamental rights. The key is early engagement. We cannot just react after decisions are made. We need to be part of shaping the agenda from the start. That means embedding core internet values directly into national and regional digital strategies and championing regulatory frameworks that are technology neutral, rights preserving, and globally interoperable. Only then can we keep the internet open, cohesive, and resistant to fragmentation. Finally, we need to expand our alliances. The actors shaping digital governance today may never attend EuroDIG, but they should still feel its influence. Here are examples to follow. The Freedom Online Coalition, originally formed by governments, has increasingly opened to civil society and academic participation, thanks to pressure and partnerships seeded in multi-stakeholder forums. The IGF Leadership Panel, although still finding its footing, includes members from who bridge across sectors and regions because the IGF community insisted on it. Even outside our field, the Paris Peace Forum uses a follow-up mechanism to incubate projects and connect them to funders and policy bodies. It's a model we could adopt to amplify the work that starts at EuroDIG. The point is, dialogue must travel. If we want the principles we debate here to matter, we need to speak to people who weren't in the room and influence decisions. So, to summarize, we need to change it. We need to be more deliberate in how we convene, more strategic in how we follow through, more assertive in how we engage regulation, more intentional in embedding values into digital strategy, and more inclusive in how we build alliances. Because talk, even excellent multi-stakeholder open talk, is not enough. They need structure, visibility, and action. And I stop here, Olivier. Floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Parry. And yeah, that's quite a chunk of information here. And I'm seeing quite a few people around the room thinking, "Wow, okay, what next?" Well, the question actually comes over to you, to all of you who are here and also online following us. What do we do next? How do we turn this discussion, this dialogue, the discussions we have in the rooms here, and we're taking core internet values as one of the topics, obviously, but I think it's even more relevant to everything else. How do we take it to the next level? How do we go into more concrete outcomes in a way that that basically just makes it a lot more than just talk? And, of course, there are, as we said, many examples of it already happening. But do you have any suggestions of things that haven't been done so far? Are there any ways that you'd like to share what you suggest could be done when we finish with this conference today? We go home and maybe some of us go over to the IGF. And then what? Then what happens afterwards? So open the floor and Derek, go ahead.
Thank you, Frederica speaking. I speak on my own, but I'm also part of Internet Society. And I think that one important point is to defend the current values, not only to think about the new ones with AI, but to defend the current ones, and also to have some metrics. For example, we talk about decentralization, interoperability, but do we have that effectively? And so I engage people here to go to pulse.internetsociety.org, because there you can see how several things are really centralized and becoming more and more centralized now in the hands of very few people. And so that's answer also to a question of Oksana had. We don't have really decentralization if we have some critical infrastructure in the hands of a few people. And that's one of my messages.
Okay, thank you for this. That's a good site, actually. Yes, pulse.internet. Is pulse.internetsociety.org.
Yes, it's pulse.internetsociety.org, and then you can see also by region or worldwide how internet is resilient, how it is decentralized or not, depending on different critical service. Can be a DNS, hosting websites, things like that. You have also information about internet shutdowns on that website. So where do you have shutdowns, which kind of shutdowns, how internet is freely accessible to everyone, etc. So it's something I recommend, because to take a right decision and actions, it's also good to take some measures of where are we today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Frédéric. And yes, there are a number of other sites also that track the internet shutdowns out there, because there are quite a few shutdowns happening every day. Any other thoughts on how we turn talk to action? Yes, please.
Hello, I'm Subaita Zanelia. I'm here with EuroDIG. Actually, I had a very maybe generic comment / question. We talked about the follow-up, the best practices, and all these messages that come out of EuroDIG and IGF, etc. And I was thinking, maybe some sort of monitoring process or some sort of reporting process that countries that have been participating, or stakeholders that have participated in the past, EuroDIG or IGF, and have agreed to those messages like we have done in the past days. Like, we do agree that we support these messages that have come out of the workshops. Like, what if there was some sort of a reporting session in the follow-up in the next EuroDIG? What has actually been done upon these messages? Something like UPR, like Universal Periodic Review, a peer-to-peer review, not essentially a criticism or a why haven't we done this, but let's see where we are before we start thinking about new messages to add and new things to do. Just a reflection.
Yeah, thank you. That's pretty interesting. So these were the messages. What have we actually done out of these messages? Pretty good. Samvel.
Thank you. So I'm Samvel Martirosyan from Armenia, Cyber Up. I think when we are speaking about values, not just theoretically, but practical values, I suppose that it should come either bottom up or top to bottom somehow. And if we are looking to the recent world where our AI tools and social networks are dominating in construction of narratives, and narratives are something which are behind the values somehow. I think that we should understand that big companies, their algorithms are really seriously impacting on values. We can gather together and speak about, but it can be a very small, tiny circle. In the parallel world, a lot of children in TikTok are making flash mobs about strange things, and they are generating some values. We can say we don't like these values, it's not a values, but it is spreading all over the world. And in some cases, it is amplified by algorithms. And I think we should sit here with tech companies together, because otherwise it's a bad scenario. We can be marginalized and we can become some alternative world while the others are living with their own values, where are no any really interesting and good things.
Yeah, thanks for this, Samvel. And indeed, this is a multi-stakeholder dialogue, so obviously the private sector is very important in this. And there are a number of large tech giants that have representatives in that I've seen. I've actually met over in EuroDIG over the coffee time, and maybe some in the room. I'm not sure, but there's a question or comment. Yeah, okay, please, remote comment or question.
We have one comment from our participants. So the next level is to create a bridge between coalition and the high-level business and government and international standards and infrastructure organizations, bring them on board. An ever-present bridge between talk and the most relevant actors include those who bring in disruptive technologies such as OpenAI, Google, social networks, especially institutions concerned with the infrastructure and governments.
Thank you. That's also a very good input, very good way forward. Certainly, dialogue between the different component parts of the multi-stakeholder model seems to be also direct engagement with the different parts. Any other thoughts? I'm looking here. Anyone wishes to take the floor and add more? What do we do next? Or are we just ready to go home and get a break now? Summer's coming soon. Midsummer is happening up in the north very soon, so no? Okay, anyone online? Oh, I see here Shiva has put his hand up. Not sure if you're able to speak.
My comment has been read out, and what I was suggesting is that we have an ongoing bridge and bring the actors who implement to this room in an ongoing process. That's my suggestion.
Okay, thank you.
May I make a comment? I'm unable to raise my hand here.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think we probably need to vacate the room soon because this is supposed to be a 25-minute session, I think. And although we did start late, there's also a break that's coming up soon. So I think people will soon be going for coffee.
Yeah, thank you, Olivier. So I think that we need more brainstorming. Ideas needs to come from bottom up, and also we got to realize it's everybody's responsibility. But then enabling tools needs to come from top down. But I think we need more on the areas that how we follow up, how we can ensure that the ideas we have here are manifested in real world and impacts other things. At the end, what is clear as we're wrapping up this session is dialogue is where change starts, but it cannot stop there. EuroDIG and IGF spark ideas, build connections. Now we need to turn that momentum into action. That means follow up, wider engagement, bringing core internet values into other policy spaces. We don't need to reinvent anything, just strengthening the bridge from talk to impact and make sure the values we care about are not just discussed but defended. I stop here and thank you everyone for participating.
Thank you very much, Parry, and thanks for your presentation. And thanks to everyone here who has come. I hope that you've learned a little bit of what the Dynamic Coalition on Core Internet Values does. It's a free dynamic coalition. You just join the mailing list. If you're interested in joining the mailing list, give me your email address after this and I'll add you over. It's pretty easy and straightforward. And we will be having a session at the IGF, at the forthcoming IGF in Lillestrøm. I keep on getting the wrong place. I keep on calling it Lillehammer, which apparently is 250 kilometers from the location. So please don't go to Lillehammer, go to Lillestrøm. And that's where we'll have our next meeting. So thanks very much to everyone who's participated, and thanks for the technology people to have fixed the gremlins in the room. And see you all very soon, both online, but also in person, hopefully, in future IGFs, EuroDIGs, and elsewhere as well. Thank you.